Hi, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of AI Dev series. I'm really glad that you are being able to join us on today's session. We are going to talk about prompt engineering. For the people that cannot join, this session is being then recorded and will be available along with other 5 episodes of the AI Dev series here in YouTube, so you can check it out later. Today we have with us to talk about prompt engineering, and you'll see we'll talk a little bit more than just prompt engineering. We will be talking about a lot of interesting things regarding GenAI. We have today here, I have the pleasure to present you someone that has been working in our company for a long time. He had many roles here. Actually is the only Menno that we have in the company and is known as the UX guy. So Menno, welcome to this episode. Nice having you here.
Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be here.
I think what we have here to show today, I think is going to be very interesting. Just to let you know that differently from the other sessions, we are not having a hands-on coding part of the episode, but Menno has a lot of interesting real use cases to share with us. I think you will enjoy. At least on my side, it's been really a pleasure preparing this session, so I think you will enjoy also. So Menno, what have you been doing and what do you have for us?
Yeah, so I think as you asked me, I think it would be nice to share some of the stories of how we've been using GenAI and prompt engineering. I think we started about a year ago, maybe a bit more, when the big hype of ChatGPT came up. And now if it's ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever, some of the materials I shared, I even found Bard still in there. So forgive me that I'm telling the journey of the year, but things in AI move very fast. But I'll just share some stories on how we started to enable the team, how we trained the team, and also some learnings that we have and some examples that we have that maybe you can copy or you can learn how you can become a better prompt engineer yourself, but also how you can use GenAI and how you can use prompting in your daily life. That's what I hope that I can share with everyone today.
Yeah, that would be really nice. So we can say that I don't know, prompt engineering is kind of the. Can we say it's the cornerstone of for getting good results with GenAI, or am I exaggerating here?
I don't know. I actually maybe you are, maybe not. I think I really like that the field is moving so fast. Even like a few months ago, I mean, prompt engineers, they can make a decent salary because it's new, it's exciting, and people need it. But even if you look at recent features released by Claude from Anthropic, they have prompt engineering helpers and prompt engineering bots. So I actually think the field might evolve so fast that GenAI will take care of prompt engineering itself, which means that we probably don't have to learn how to prompt engineer. We'll have to learn how to tell the prompt engineering bot what we would need, which is, I guess, one level of abstraction higher. But I think with everything with AI, I think as a society or as humans, we need to start learning how we act and interact with it, right? So is it the cornerstone of working with GenAI? I'm not sure. Is it a very good accelerator to get started and get the interaction going? Yes. So I would say let's start there.
Okay. For what I got from your message is that actually the most difficult thing in life that we need to do is know what we want, right?
Well, I think the most difficult in life is being human. So I think that's no, but it's the same. Like if the system knows what you want better than what you know, I think then we reach a very interesting point in time.
Cool. So what do you have to share with us?
So I prepared some things, and I'll just start at the beginning of the journey, right? So I don't know if you can see, like here, we started with like really company-wide enablement. So sharing across with the teams at the beginning, what is AI? It's coming up, everyone, it's a big buzz, it's a big hype, but what do you do with it? And that's, I think, two main parts. One, you just have the generic knowledge. I mean, if you see this, I mean, sharing this with the company today would be ridiculous, right? What is GenAI? If you don't know, then, well, I don't know where you've been for the last 18 months. But it's really, we started immediately tailoring to specific roles. What is different for a designer, front-end engagement? This is when I was in services, and really try to get the buy-in, because I think there was a little bit of resistance from people. Like, well, there was of course the boohoo message in the world, it's gonna take our jobs and whatever. But I mean, Grammarly doesn't mean that you don't type anymore, right? And I mean, your quality of English might go down over time if you use Grammarly every day. But I think ChatGPT will become the same kind of integrated experience, where you're typing, where you're doing, and it just starts in the corner recommending things and whatever. But at the beginning, it was really, okay, what is it? What can it do? For who is it? How can it help me? And it was really challenging the teams with, okay, but for every task that you do, just try to understand, can I do this faster? Can I do this better? If I ask GenAI to come up with an answer, does it come up with a 60% answer, 80% answer, 100% answer, 120% answer of what someone in the team would do? And then maybe can you replace a junior developer? Can you replace a junior designer or consultant? And what can you speed up? What can you do and not do? And then there was, of course, really the policies, like what can you share and what can you not share. I think that's a very, like, how it's governed and the policies around it. I mean, that from the beginning had to be set up. And then the second part was about prompts, helping people start, like write prompts like a pro, the different tone, the format, act as, the objective, what's the context. And that was really the beginning, like sharing some tips and tricks and some pitfalls, which was step one, I would say.
So learning what can you do, what you can't do, and a little bit on how should you do it. Maybe to start, right?
Exactly. And there's actually one more thing, just building on that. I think we should all ask ourselves, what can you do and what should you do, and what can you not do and what should you not do. That's maybe a discussion
okay, that's more. That's more
for another day.
Yeah, that's probably for a very important topic. Yeah.
So, and then after we did this, there was a bit of buy-in. People were getting curious. We started to prepare some training. So then quite quickly we moved into some actual training, right? And I just have some examples here. I'm not going through the actual boards because they're not that interesting and no one wants to see slides. We see way too many slides. But one thing that is important is the easiest way to teach people is to just show good and bad examples. And actually bad examples, and this is maybe one of the nuggets, bad examples teach you a lot more than good examples do. Because bad examples you can relate to, they're easier to memorize, and it nudges you in the right direction, whereas a good example doesn't not nudge you in the wrong direction.
Well, coding is the same. Everyone likes to see bad practices, and it's harder to remember the good practices. But yeah, the bad ones we always remember. So yeah, makes total sense.
And then the other thing that was in the training, and then we will stop here. But I actually say I made a mistake here. It's RTF, not RFT, which is good actually. One thing, if you see typos these days, it's most likely human generated content rather than AI generated content. It's my trigger. So now, if you copy paste the message from ChatGPT, you should put the typo in it so it looks like you wrote it. So,
okay, that's clever. That's a clever one. I'll probably use it someday.
But to teach people some frameworks behind it, right? And if it's RTF or Risen, or there are a lot of them in the industry, and there are a lot of them about. So I think that's really a good point as well. Like, give people some framework to work with, and give them, like, it's not just, hey ChatGPT, how are you doing today? I need to create a design for something. No, but give it the role, instruction, the steps, etc.
Okay, yeah. So the in those two cases that you are showing, it's actually the way you structure the prompt. It's exactly. Well known, well structured, and it will help the model to retrieve the answers that you are looking for. That's the strategy,
exactly.
Right?
I think one of the keys to prompt engineering will be is how can I get the most context in the least amount of time and effort, so that is the most precise to drive the model to the answer that I wanted to bring, right?
Right. Well, that's actually interesting because the more you type, right, the more inputs the model has. So probably it can drive through different paths, right? So like you said, being as summarized and accurate enough, it's probably not that easy, right?
No, it's not that easy, but I think there's one thing that I found when I started building custom GAPTs, and we'll get there at the end. One thing that I found is that slide decks that are built for humans, they have a certain amount of repetition in it in order to make sure that the message comes across.
Okay.
Are you still with me? Yeah. But if I feed that slide deck to be learned by a model, the repetition makes it sound like it's more important than other parts to it. So even how we write as humans and how models write, I really think it's I don't know, we're still exploring what is really the case here.
Okay.
But a human deck that has a lot of repetition in it because the brain is a little bit stupid, we're lazy, we don't always pay attention, whatever.
Right.
But the model always pays attention. And so the model doesn't skip a day, right?
Right.
So, and then if we give it human content, that might not be the right structure for the prompts, I would say.
Okay. Okay. That's a very interesting thought. Yeah, I have to say I've never thought about that. That's really interesting.
But that actually came above with the custom GPTs that all of a sudden found certain things much more important or much more relevant than others. And I was like, okay, but if you follow the hierarchy, like the step by step, that's actually not true. But if you look at the occurrence of the quantity of the words accessibility, for example, because many people in design don't pay enough attention to that.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it became the most important thing. I was like, well, I'm not sure. Then you probably didn't read the deck properly because it's a very important thing. But anyway.
Got it. Yeah. That's a good example. Yeah.
So this was just really short on the training. One thing that's actually really important regarding prompt engineering and becoming better at writing prompts yourself. It's the story of the pottery maker. I don't know if you know it.
The story of the pottery maker, is that?
Exactly. So there was a pottery teacher, and he had a class, and he divided the class in half. And he asked half the class to make 30 vases in 30 days, and he asked the other half of the class to make the best vase possible in 30 days. And at the end, he was grading the whole group, and all the top scores were from the group that made 30 vases rather than one. Whereas the group that was given the task to make one vase were specifically said, make the most perfect vase, focus on beauty, focus on perfection, focus on it needs to be amazing. And the other was you just need to produce 30. I don't care. Just make volume. And the best vases, they came from the group that practiced a lot and that learned a lot and that failed a lot. And for me, prompt engineering is the same. I wouldn't go sit down and try to spend hours and hours on trying to design the perfect prompt. You just need to get used to it. You need to practice every day. And the real juice, I think, comes once you learn how to talk to it. And I think it varies from individual to individual, as in, my way of prompting is not the same as your way of prompting. And even I'm not sure if we should have that roughly standardized, I don't know, prompt engineering frameworks. Because it's your way of interacting. It should mimic how your brain thinks and takes information in and spits information out. Anyway,
does it? No. It's a good point. What I wanted to ask is if it's something that kind of concerns you, or how do you deal with the fact that it's not deterministic, right? You make a prompt, and after you do another prompt, you always have the context, right? But you might not get the same answers for the same prompt. So how do you look at that, or how do you feel about that?
Well, we need to be very careful as well, right? I mean, a a large language model, it's just counting the probability of the next word. Like it has no knowledge or concept awareness and understanding of what you're saying. So I think one thing that's actually very important is that even I often, when I ask it for a problem or I ask it for a task or a solution, I ask it to approach it from 5 different sides, just to give me a fuller, rounder picture of the problem. But I would never rely on writing one perfect prompt with one perfect answer, because I don't think the English language is rich enough to count for the mistakes that probability can make. And then it makes mistakes too, right? I think we call them hallucinations, which actually I think is wrong. A good friend of mine, maybe you'll see this, he said that to me as well, but um, an AI model cannot hallucinate, because that would imply that it has cognitive capabilities, which it doesn't. So even we as humans, we call it a hallucination, but in fact, it's just a mistake. It's just an error. It came up with something stupid. Anyway, just a small note.
So we call it hallucination with double quotes.
You can't hallucinate. Like a hallucinate it's a human cognitive concept. It implies cognitive power and awareness, which it doesn't have, because it has computational capabilities. It doesn't have cognitive capabilities, until we maybe reach AGI one day, and then we can have this conversation again. But I mean, that goes beyond.
No worries. We won't have this conversation. We'll have 2 machines here having the conversation for us. So.
Exactly. We can sit somewhere on the beach and retire.
No worries about that. Okay, so that's what you had about trading, right?
Yes. So at the beginning, it was the enablement, awareness, just let's start. Then the second step was some basic training. So people, when they want to try, they actually have somewhere to go. Then the third step, and I'll just show it what we did for the UX UI team, and kudos to Helena here. It was really dissecting the design process that we have at OutSystems, and then just mapping which tool works for what. And this is a very old version, so we've moved on from this, but and just really each project, each team, each department, I believe, should do this. Map the process that you do and just label which AI tool can I use for what. And then you can start experimenting, and you can start saying, okay, let's just pick out only the crafting the interview questions. And then let's build a set of prompts that help me get started with that. And then let's learn how to do this, because to tackle the whole beast at once, it's very hard. And this can really help you accelerate one task, very easy, very quick. And that can really help also in the team, when certain skills we may not have people for, or in a team, you might not have 100% designer available, or you might not have 100% copywriter available. So like focus the areas where it hurts the most, and just start getting good at that area. And check the new tools, because I mean, tools come up every day, if not like every hour. So this chart needs to be a living graph of what are the tools that you explore and you have access to.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting, because probably the process itself could in the future be changed because you start using the tools, right? Would it make sense?
Yes. No, exactly. So, but I think step one is documenting your way of doing it now, and then try to make that better and faster. And eventually, it's like redesigning a customer journey, right? Step one is to map the current state. Then it is to find the highlights and the flaws in the current state. And then it is, okay, let's remove the flaws. Then what is left of the journey, and how can we weave this back together, and how can we make the journey shorter? How can we make the people happier doing it? The same process of optimizing a normal journey mapping exercise should be done for each internal process that you have, or task that you have to do. Because maybe eventually, as you said, you can just have input, outputs, job done. Well, I think we're still a bit away from that, but soon.
So this is a good example for everyone that is watching and following us, that this is what you did for your team, because this is the scope of your operation, right? But the idea is to give it as a framework for everyone that has their own scope and their own challenges, to look and think the way you think about this, right?
Well, I will never force someone to think the way I think, but I will share the way I think, and if you like it, you can share it. So, but it's really like understand and analyze. Okay, but what are the basic steps that always happen? What are the tasks that always happen? Because no action that's identical should be done twice, right? So I think we live and breathe this kind of mentality at OutSystems. It's like let's optimize, let's automate, let's find a better way to do something. Let's enable people to do it. Let's like make a way that it's better and faster. Like why should we not be more efficient? And I think this is a very good step. And I think because from the enablement to the training, you're still kind of lost. Where do I start? Right. So with my team at the time, I needed to find a way. Okay, but now what? Like, okay, I've had the training. Now what? Do I just go to ChatGPT and start typing? Like, I don't know what to say. I don't know where to go.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes perfectly sense.
So, which is actually a good segue to the next part. So, one thing that we did, and we have these pre-built boards with tasks. So again, if I just zoom out quickly, hope you don't get sick. These are the tasks from the slide before. So industry analysis, persona building, features and epics, requirements, NFRs, like all the basic tasks that you go through when you start a project. And we really dissected them one by one into, okay, but what can I get out of it? And then the mission is to get knowledge about the industry, for example. What do you need to know before the project starts? And then the prompts you can use to get started. Because I think even after people have gotten the training and they know some frameworks and they know some stuff what's happening, you still need to help them get going. And I've seen this a lot, like, and it's very strange that there's a bit of hesitation and fear or not knowing what to do. Can I put this in there? Yes or no? Like, so build some prompts for your team for the task that you have to do. And then we did this for every task, which is, yeah. Oh, here I don't have the prompts. My apologies. But some prompts, some tips, and then you could really go step by step as an accelerator to get things going.
Okay, well, we actually have a question, but I think let's see if it makes sense to answer now or maybe leave it more towards the end. But it's from Philippe that is asking, considering the future AI trends, what do you think UI, UX designers should focus to stay competitive then? Do you think it's a question for now, maybe later? What do you think?
I can answer it now quickly. So I think first of all, I don't think this is about UX UI. I'm just using some UX UI examples from the past that I wanted to share, but this counts for any role, right? So what do you need to keep an advantage? It's to make sure you understand the tools that are available in the market. And it's not AI is going to take your jobs. So if you talk to designers per se, AI is not going to take a designer's job, but the designer with AI will take the job of a designer without AI. And that's, I think, the attitude you should have. And Jacob Nielsen and Norman also talk about this a lot. And they're like, you just need to integrate it as a toolkit or as a tool in your toolkit of things that you use to do your job. I mean, auto layouts is not stealing designers either, right? But it's making it a heck of a lot easier. So that's the kind of approach you should have to it, I think.
Right, it's interesting because I was thinking about the question, but just replacing UI UX on the question for application development or development.
Anything.
And I think the answer is quite the same, right? You have the tools, you need to use the answer that you gave. I think was really spot on. So I think at least for me, I think it was a really good answer. So feel free to keep doing these questions in chat. We will be here to answer. So Menno, back to what you were showing us.
Yeah. So what one thing that we also started doing from the beginning. First of all, there are quite a few prompts you can use to make your life easier, like yapping or be concise, or don't use more than X number of words, or because often you get large essays, answers of stuff. So you need to train it a little bit to not bombard you with information. And the other thing that is good is to always use the output as input. So don't just copy paste the answer and that's what you're going to do. But like here, okay, point one makes sense, but it's really simple. Point two, okay, also makes sense, but it's really expensive, meaning it's not going to happen in the real world. So I can't just use this in a project that has a budget, that has timelines, that has integration dependencies, that has whatever. But then there are also things where you actually see, hey, this is a clever hint. So electricians often work in areas with poor or no internet. So then it's not really rocket science, but maybe the designer would only have found that out after going on the job or seeing someone working or talking to an SME or whatever. So I think it can just, like, you need to have this human AI generated content interaction and really do a review of what's there and how to interact with it. And then really pick the nuggets that you want. And that is then your starting point. And even take 5 nuggets from this, copy those into your next prompt, and then keep building on those. And then review that answer again. Take 3 nuggets of that and then build that in your next prompt again. Like really interact with the content and kind of massage the content to where you want it to be, rather than just take it for granted that everything is great. And the other thing we were speaking about it earlier. The other thing we did was to have this confidence score. So because there was quite a bit of resistance of, okay, but how am I going to use this, whatever. When you do workshops like this, or when you have your teams working like this, or even when you do it with a partner or customer, it's good to have this confidence score, because then you allow the AI or GenAI to be useful in some moments and less useful in others. I think if people feel that it's forced down their throat and it's 100% or 0%, then the adoption is not really going to happen. You're only going to have the super excited people at the beginning, and then the rest is going to drop off. Because the trust is very low. It needs to make one mistake and you don't believe it anymore for like 3 weeks. So this confidence score, and this is actually an important one, I think. How do you act and interact with the generated content, or even the quality of the prompts, right? Because I mean, the quality of the answer is directly tied to the quality of the prompt. So you also need to think about it like that. And that can really help also in the discussions afterwards with the team. Oh, but why do you think that confidence was only 2 out of 5? Or why did you think it was 5 out of 5? Because that's really high.
It's a starting point to try to understand what the person that is using the prompt and is writing the prompt is actually feeling about the answer, or what's their evaluation of. That's the starting point, right?
Exactly. And it's really like the allowing people to have an opinion about it. I think that's really the core behind it. So allowing people to slowly get used to it, become better and better over time. They see their confidence score increasing over time, until you reach a point that you're like, no, actually, I can interact with these models and they do bring me some value. And I've mastered my prompt skills to the point that it actually makes sense for me to spend time and energy here. The last thing we did related with this is actually also, I'll just skip over a bit, but it's kind of every time we do a workshop like this, we also do a kind of retro immediately. So we give people the opportunity to also just share what worked well, what didn't work, where did they find right or wrong information, and it's really what worked really well. Super cool accelerator, interesting responses, some things too generic, but still good information, great for generation, fast. Sorry?
Oh, I was saying, yeah, I was agreeing. Fast, yeah.
Fast, exactly. And like, also, but humans need training. You need to check all the answers. You can't just take everything for granted. Like those kind of things. And these these collaborative learning sessions can actually teach you a lot as well. I think at the beginning, I learned a lot from understanding how my partner did prompting, how other people around me did prompting. We had TikToks that, I don't know, with all these AI gurus that are trying to force their content on the world with how you should prompt or not. But it's really like learning from others as well and have like this shared opinion, because then the resistance and the fear of this big bad technology is really reduced, which helps with the adoption.
Right, right. I really like the part where people kind of, when you're sharing like techniques you used, because a lot of the times things that are pretty standard and normal to you are not for others. So like keeping a conversation, like someone say, oh, I use it like if it is a person, and I kind of talk to it like with answers, and so I'm not just sending commands, to a bot. So
Yeah.
those approaches, sharing those approaches, I think are helpful, to at least for you to try on the next time. So it's I think that the concept of doing that. Sometimes you might skip it, right? Because it's not that obvious that you need that, but I think it's important to do it, right?
It's also, you can only do it so many times with the same group, right? Like eventually it becomes the same and boring. But I think especially at the beginning, or if you do customer facing workshops, or even in a team, you work with a new department, new line of business, new SMEs. You always find people that are new to it and they're going to have a bit of a hurdle to get started. It's the same, like, I don't know, you're not gonna build a perfect pot on day one, right? You need to practice and you need to learn, and all you need to do is put the conditions in place that people can spend enough time getting used to it. Like, habit formation doesn't go very fast. So you need to make it the threshold as low as possible, give them prompt examples, allow them to have an opinion, make sure they can act and interact with it, maybe even help them out, show them examples. So I think that can really help, because as a facilitator or as a adoption driver, whatever you want to call it, I think you need to create the environment in which people can make this their own, and create the environment in which everyone can become a prompt engineer, and create the environment where people are happy and healthy doing what they're doing. So
Well, that's good. So, and after all of that, still, if you want to get people to use it, what do you need to do?
after that, still, no, I think so. We actually have some work as well on generic prompts that are just helping people to think otherwise. I'll just show some examples. It's just help me think about something, right? Or the one here. This is a favorite of mine. Ask me 3 questions I may have forgotten. One that I did with customers is like, pretend to be an angry customer and tell me the 3 reasons why my proposal is bad. So you get used to the enactment of the meetings and the sessions and the conversations that you're going to face and that you're going to have to do. Because again, it's not going to help you with the answers, but it's going to help you prepare for what might be coming, because it allows you to see the same problem from another side. And like everything in design as well, I think you should manage the problem, not the solution. And in prompt engineering, it's the same. You shouldn't focus on what is the perfect prompt to achieve something, like what is my solution for a prompt, or what's my solution as an answer, but you should manage the problem. What am I trying to find out? What am I trying to create? What do I need to set up? And that should always be your core. And even if you get lost down in a conversation with something, then go back to the original goal. Okay, but how does this help me set up my strategy for something? And then challenge yourself, like use it to challenge yourself back again. Because I think that's just really healthy. I mean, basically, this is a free sparring partner for any potential known or unknown issue that you may have.
Okay. Okay. So we could say, let's try to, well, not summarize, but at least not summarize, but give you this kind of a question. So, like everything in life, you only get to the bottom of it when you do follow-up questions, right?
Well, being a UXer myself, it's the key to this job is asking why 5 times, right? So when someone gives you an answer, you ask why. Then they come, oh, this is actually the real reason behind my previous answer. Okay, why? Then you get the real reason behind. And it's like, and the 5 whys, which is the Toyota strategy, or I don't remember where it comes from, but it's you get to the root, not at question one, and not you don't get to the core of the problem at question one. um and this is the other thing. I see a lot of people, you type one prompt, one answer, done. I was like, how often do you have a conversation that is an exchange of one question and one answer? I mean, it's very rare, right? So but you need to get used to interacting with it through voice or typing. That's actually another interesting one, but yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. Any more sample examples or to share with us?
I think the access is still good. Like act as a senior prompt engineer, I like, because then if you don't know how to prompt engineer, you kind of bypass that. And even help me write a prompt for something. And the other thing that, well, maybe now I'm geeking out on prompt engineering a little bit, but what I like is like you have ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini open at the same time. You ask, make this prompt in ChatGPT, then you ask Claude to evaluate the prompt from ChatGPT, and then you ask Gemini to evaluate the review of the prompt and make an improvement, and then you feed it back again, and then the three of them can argue together about what's the best prompt. And then eventually you get a nice version of something that you're actually happy with. But again, as I said, it's really, for me, the key to prompt engineering: one, practice. I've said that already. And two, it's just, you don't have to find the right answer. You just need to find more puzzle pieces to the answer that you're trying to find. So ask questions like, okay, what would be the opposite of this answer? Or what have I forgotten? Or, okay, imagine this is all true, then what? And really push the boundaries of what you're thinking. And I think like act as a senior prompt engineer can help with that. Act as a senior partner at some firm. Act as a customer. Act as my boss. I'm going into my performance evaluation. I don't think he's gonna watch this. So if he does, he will speak to me. But it's like, act as my boss. This is his kind of personality. This is his kind of profile. Imagine I would present him this, and this. What would be, or what could be his instinctive reaction? And you can just like role play and really practice. I mean, there's so much value in the practice, but also in evolving your own thinking. I mean, I guess hypothetically speaking, we could have done this in front of the mirror rather than with a fancy GenAI tool. But this just makes it very fast and very easy.
Makes sense. So I was checking some of you know, from our reviews here, the favorite prompts. It's interesting because one of the things that we have is actually when you use, and I think you've talked a little bit about that, like in simple words or short description. So the amount of words, right, that you can get from the models, sometimes it can be, I wouldn't say overwhelming, but it's a very large answers. So actually this is a technique, right, to shape the amount of text that is generated in the answer, right?
Yeah. But I think there are a lot of them, like, or you use it like, explain it to my 7-year-old son, or no yapping is a good one too. Like, just don't, no bullshit, right? No, and even maybe there's another dear fellow colleague of mine. Maybe you can have maybe you can teach it not to use words like delve into, or landscape, or things like that, because you also need it to be useful, right? So it's actually, at the beginning I had a chatbot, and I used to write articles quite a lot. So I had one prompt just like, hey, I'm Menno, this is my role, this is my style, here are 4 articles, this is my writing style. From now on, please do all answers in the style that I write, with the vocabulary that I use. So you can also make it tailored to you, and really be precise. I mean, I have another friend who likes to make it sound like the anarchist academic professor. So it's like it's a little bit harsh and to the point, but it's still academic. So it's high and valued, and it doesn't go all crazy. And this is like a good balance of short and sweet, but still real and substantial.
Right, right. So giving examples of what is the output that you're expecting, it's also a good technique, right? When
That one is a good one actually as well, I think, because then you give it less choice, I think, but then you also frame it as in like make it sound like me or make it sound like an article on the BBC or I don't care.
Interesting, yeah. Okay. So we've gone through all the examples that you had there.
Yeah. So there's two more things. Are we still good for time? Okay, okay. So one thing that even though I think people should practice themselves, even though I think people should get used to it, that spend some time and ask it for a recipe and how they can live a healthier lifestyle and build a personal connection to it rather than a professional one. We still have a prepared prompt library, in this case, again, for the UX group, which is about the stages, getting started, discovery, ideation. And I think this is just because people are lazy. The core skill of being human is laziness, right? Because it
You say
means
that it's something that I'm really proud of.
no, but honestly, laziness has a negative connotation, but actually there's a kind of beauty in it because if you're lazy, you acknowledge that there's a better, faster, and more efficient way to do something, and therefore you refuse to do it the stupid way.
But I
Now,
want to
there's also
use.
bad lazy, for sure.
I want to use the minimum amount of energy to do something.
Exactly. And I guess that minimum amount of energy can be done for the right or the wrong reasons, right? So I think that's
exactly, and that's another topic.
but I think just these are not perfect prompts, right? But they are just starter kits, starter points. It's an accelerator to get going, to start that conversation, to help you nudge. Oh, actually, I could do a SWOT analysis, or I could do this, or I could do industry analysis, or I could do a script, or I could have it pretend to be a certain persona and go through an interview questions and ask me questions back. And I can even run like 30 interviews through a chatbot, and it's not going to replace 30 humans, but it will give me some kind of information that I wouldn't have thought about otherwise. But I do think you need to give them that starter nugget, which then again should be tailored to the tasks that you're doing or the team that you're in or the role that you play.
Got it.
And then the last thing, yeah, can we? Yeah. Then the last thing I wanted to show, and I think this is some of the work that we have available on our Dribble, is we build a custom GPT, which is the OutSystems UX UI assistant. And I just want to show it quickly. So again, by Helena, who now leads the UX UI team in services. And this is really cool because you can just like do a UX assessment on this image and highlight the good parts and maybe some areas for improvement. And what we did there is we trained this bot on our internal training material that we have for the team when someone joins the team. It has some accessibility content. It has how the best practices. And it also has the Norman Nielsen heuristics as a foundation of the model of how to analyze it. And it's also then it gives you an answer for, okay, this is good, this is bad, but it also then it's not just an opinion, but it links it to, okay, but which heuristic does this come from and what's the impact? And then again, is this perfect? No. Does this replace the designer? No. Does it help you think differently about something you produced yourself? For sure. So I think, again, tailoring the models to what you need can also be an extremely helpful addition to how to interact with these. And we can share this link. It's open. You can use it for your projects. yeah, just the last thing I wanted to.
No, that's really, and but it was funny because while you are writing, I was thinking. So, also what you are writing there with a little bit of prompt engineering, you can try to do or try to improve the answers, right? So the way also you do that question, right? You did, I think it was kind of a standard, right? Question, but you could be more inventive there, right?
You could be, and you could give, so here you can make it as complex as you want, right? So you can also say, okay, listen, this customer is insurance, there will be 20 highly trained individuals, focus on their ability to complete the task successfully rather than the look and feel. But I think I, the more rigid content you give, also the riskier the output becomes. This might be a very dangerous statement to make, but because I think sometimes you don't want it to give you the perfect answer. You want it to help you think about what's the perfect answer. And I think as long as you have that approach, it's really about allowing you to have a different viewpoint and another opinion rather than a dictatorial yes or no, this is a great design, this is not. Because when you have the untailored, you could do the same kind of exercise in normal GPT, Claude, whatever, and it fetches from the web what are good UX practices. But often it's quite generic. So it's like, I don't know, it's like, but there's a button, or maybe you need breadcrumbs. And I was like, okay, yeah, okay, fine. It's good feedback, but it's not really, there's no rocket science in there, right? And I really think linking the OutSystem specific knowledge with the Norman Newson heuristics, with the severity grading, like even like, is it the one out of 5, that can really help with just getting a quick glance of, hey, is this good? Is this not? Do I need to pay more attention? Whatever else.
Okay. No, I think it's really interesting to know as soon as you start working more and more on that, it's really interesting to see what kind of questions start or concerns you start having, because until you start, nothing of this exists, right? But then you start doing things, and all of those things start popping up, and that's really interesting to hear from someone that has already crossed that path.
The other thing which is also interesting here is you can say, oh, but I don't have time to make all the improvements. Which one should I focus on? Or give me the highest bang for my buck. Like give me the greatest impact ones, and then try to sort them like that. And then, I don't know, it's just really, you need to learn how to play with it, I guess. And you could easily say, pretend to be a junior designer, pretend to be a senior designer, pretend to be the best designer OutSystems has ever seen, and you're known across the world for making the best applications that exist, and then see what it does. Then it's really, there's so much experimenting in getting prompt engineering to a point that it's helpful. But yeah, it's good fun if you don't have anything to do over lunch or the weekend.
Indeed, it doesn't take too much of an effort, right? In terms of trying. It's not that with the models that we have nowadays, the way to practice these prompts, and then what you can do is actually take the knowledge of those results and then implement on applications that you are building using OutSystems, for example. You can do that, right? So to practice, you can practice this way, right? That's really. I think that's really interesting. So, what do you think about summarizing the key takeaways? I know we've seen the journey, right? That we can that I know it's your journey, but I think in your steps, I think maybe we could see a lot of other people steps also. But in terms of the takeaways, if you were a model, I would ask. So Menno, our large language model, well, my prompt will be, so as a person that followed these steps, what would be the 3 takeaways that you would like to share with us?
So I really think number 1 is practice. Just get used to it. Use it in your personal life. I mean, I've even taken a picture of, I had a wound, like take a picture of the accident and then ask, okay, is this urgent? Should I go to hospital or not? Not like interact with it in the most human way. Take a picture of the food when you're cooking, ask it, hey, my, like it's really build a non-professional relationship and a professional relationship at the same time, because how you as a person also act and interact with the model will change based upon the content which is there, which again teaches you about how you want to interact with it. So that's one, practice, and it's not just for work; it's across the board.
To follow it, right? Even if it says, no, there's no problem, you can sleep and you have a broken arm, you don't need to follow the answers, right?
No, exactly. And that's, I think, number two. Never consider the output as output. The output is input. The output is input. So it's an opinion. I mean, I can have a broken arm and I can ask a friend, should I go? And half of them say yes, half of them say no. What do? I trust one friend more than the other. It's yet another opinion. So every, I don't know, adult, every person should have their own opinion. There's a surroundings opinion, a societal opinion, whatever. It's yet another opinion in the line, and you should treat it like that. I think that's okay. And the last one, I don't know, I guess share your work, share your findings with others, share your ways of working, share a prompt that really helped you. Like I think the no yapping came from someone else, and then it just speeds everything up. Like it's like you eventually build your own preferred way of interacting, which can be a standardized set of prompts, which can be the RTF framework, or can be Risen, or can be whatever. But it's like share your way of doing things, and I think that really helps you evolve.
That's really interesting you're saying that, because in the chat we were seeing that there was an example that was being shared saying, heck, as you are an OutSystems expert or an AI expert, and I am a student, teach me, or what should be the topics that I should learn. So it's interesting that you're saying that, because it's sharing, because I read it and I was thinking, yeah, that's interesting. Maybe I'm going to try and see what's the output, right? So it will fuel others' imagination and probably will inspire others. That's really interesting. So we have one question, and I know it's a little bit late for that question, but I didn't want to interrupt because it was a little bit about not off topic, but it was about Morpheus. How Morpheus is going to influence the development in the OutSystems platform. Just wanted to share I think Morpheus will change the productivity that you have, the capability of doing things that you might not even considering to do, because it will give you suggestions. A little bit like we were saying here, when you start prompting and getting answers, you start looking at things in other angles. I think the capability that you will have to build using Morpheus, I think it will unleash a lot of power in the development and even more on the ability, to build more even faster. I think we're going to see that when everyone will have the opportunity to have Morpheus in their hands. I don't know if you have any take on that.
No, I think you said it all. No, it's true. I think no, but it's really, I think Morpheus is a productivity play, right? The ability to generate things really fast, really easily, and it's a huge accelerator to get things going. Then how the prompts work, how you interact with the prompts, how you edit things, I mean, that's all. I don't want to spoil everything, but I think that's really what it is. And even I think if you know how to interact with things like that, you'll become a better and better user of Morpheus in the future, right? So I think that's also a good
practice. Yeah, makes total sense. So, Menno, just wanted to thank you really for being here in this session today with us. It was really having this conversation with you. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. And surprisingly, we have a sunny day in Amsterdam. I mean, I know it's
Well,
summer, but it's still very rare.
it's recorded, so
Exactly. We have evidence.
yeah, it's correct. So to everyone, thank you for taking your time to watch this session. Remember that this is the episode 6 of the AI Dev series. So there are more 5 episodes that you can check on our YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed it at least as much as I did, and I think hopefully you took some ideas and you're going to start working on on improving and exploring your prompts. And well, I hope all of you have a great day, and thank you so much for being here with us today. So thank you very much, everyone. Again, Menno, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you all. Thank you. Bye bye.